Big D. No Huddle. Hello and welcome to Big D No Huddle. This is episode 7, where we talk about Dallas's epic implosion against the Denver Broncos. And we had our very own Edgar Garza as a correspondent at this debacle.
That's right.
And he's going to tell us all about his experience.
Implosion might be an understatement, I think. Yes, I did get to go to the game, and there were a lot of Cowboys fans there actually, and I felt pretty good about what we were getting ourselves into. Quickly that I realized that we were in over our heads. That was not a fun experience. Okay, let me clarify. That was fun. First of all, that stadium is super loud. I have never experienced a stadium like that. It was pretty ridiculous. It made me feel like I like to think of myself as a pretty big fan of the Dallas Cowboys. Mm-hmm. In that environment, I felt, compared to how they feel about their team, I felt average. Like, I felt like I felt like every person in that stadium was all in on the Broncos, and everybody was making noise the entire time. It was impressive. But no, the game itself was very disappointing. I thought we were doing a conservative start. I thought we would find our groove, and as I'm sure a lot of us did. And slowly but surely,
we've seen them have slow starts in the past, yeah. And they always seem to sort of find their footing and get their rhythm.
We made it through the first quarter, and then we had that hour rain delay, and I thought this is all we need. We just need to.
I thought the same thing. I was thinking, well, after the trash that we saw after the first quarter, it was still a tie game.
Yeah.
Or was it still a tie game when they went into the thing? I remember when they were at 7-7, I was like, I cannot believe this game is 7-7. Dallas is lucking out, but their luck did not hold.
Dude, we were awful. We played like garbage. I haven't seen us play like that since the Wade Phillip era.
Yeah, I would say I'd say this qualifies as embarrassing.
Agreed.
I was embarrassed for the boys.
And we were talking trash at that game. We were very confident.
Sure. You were probably a mile high yourself.
Oh, yeah. No. Well, first of all, the fans are really nice. Like, compared to what you might find somewhere else.
Like Philly?
Like in Philly or Oakland, or at least what was Oakland. No, they were really cool, but they were also very confident. Not one fan was like, oh, you might beat us. They were all very confident. Like,
yeah, well,
you have no idea what you're about to get into.
Yeah, we had no idea what we were about to face.
And I'm like, whatever. We can handle this. We're built for this.
Yeah, well.
It looked like we were playing ourselves. Like, they had our game plan.
They really looked, it looked to me like they looked like we looked last year, all year, and like last week.
It looked like last week. Yeah.
It was like they just flipped it. And it was amazing to see how bad Dallas could look.
I didn't think we could look that bad.
I didn't think we could either. Now the question is, we're going to get to this. Mm-hmm. I guess, is this an anomaly? Is this where we're going? Is it time to pull the ripcord and ejection seat? I mean, do we shut the podcast down now to avoid a season of pain? And
look, with any NFL game, you can't overreact.
No, I agree with that.
So no, I don't think the ship is sinking, but I did notice a bunch of things that raised concerns. So I guess we can get into that. Namely, okay, let's look at the offense.
Okay.
First of all, there was no offense.
There was no offense.
There was some terrible performances by our Dak and Zeke tandem.
Well, it looked to me
easily Zeke's worst game of the year, of his life.
There's no way. I mean, he was held to 9 carries for 8 yards.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It was terrible, and he was giving up on plays. He was moping on the sidelines. He looks to me, and I've talked about this for the last month. I've said he doesn't look the same. Something's this
You think
court
the
case,
you think
this
the off
court
the field
case, all
stuff
this
has
off-field
him?
stuff, it's taken its toll. I really think it is. I think it's taken its toll on the guy, and he's got this sort of Damocles hanging over his head. Hey,
to the point
after a
where
certain
this
point,
kind of performance comes, I just don't buy that.
well,
You got to be better than this.
I'm looking for something to explain what the hell happened. Now, last week they were complaining about Zeke's conditioning after the game, which I didn't really see a problem with.
I didn't notice that either.
But, coming into Denver, we got, and this is the thing. The whole team sucked.
Yeah.
It was a
Top to bottom.
uniform implosion and failure from top to bottom. I mean, now we'll get into it. I had some. I think there were some players that still played with heart and still didn't give up on the game.
I think majority of them played.
But the deal is, I think I'm trying to see what could explain this kind of a grand implosion. And I think, my first thought was weed. Maybe they got into some edibles or something. I don't know. They looked confused. I don't know. That's probably not.
Probably not it.
They talked about the thin air in Denver.
Yeah, I guess.
And they talked about, I saw some stat about
Did they look winded?
They looked
I couldn't
completely
tell.
gassed.
Did they?
There were several. I remember in the first half, there was some sort of a timeout called by Denver, and our defense stood up, and every man on our defense was panting like a dog, like gasping for breath.
I couldn't notice
gasping
that.
for breath.
I was really high up.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell.
Well, I mean, to me, it looked like a real thing, I saw a stat about the first 2 weeks of the season when players are still, ramping up into game, season shape.
Yeah.
Denver never loses at home in the first 2 weeks
because they're already in that
condition, and the rest of the teams come up there and are completely gassed.
I'll buy that for them beating us, but for them to dominate us like they did, I still don't think that is good.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm looking for an explanation as to why we would implode like that, and
we seemed, I don't know.
Is it coaching?
I felt like we were a little predictable on offense. There was a point where I could see
it seemed like we should try something. Zeke is a little bit more versatile than just trying to run in between the tackles.
Yeah.
When that's not working, when the box is completely stuffed.
They were dictating our offense, which never works out for us. I just figured at some point we'd get on track, and we wasn't even close.
And I think that the problem, this is one of those deals where, Zeke had the worst game of his career, and Dak didn't have a great game. Dak was...
Correlation? Maybe. Perhaps. Dak isn't all that we thought he was cracked up to be.
This is what I was waiting for.
I've heard people say that this game might have exposed Dak a little. They might have shown the blueprint for
how to beat Dak.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that there's definitely a possibility of that, and for sure,
and
other teams are going to be studying what did Denver do. But Denver has personnel that I think are how they did it. It's just kind of like, well, you study what Dallas does. Well, how do you do what Dallas does? Well, you have to have the personnel. You have to have the O-line, and you have.
And I read somewhere they interviewed somebody on the Denver Broncos team, and they asked them what the game plan was, and their game plan was, we're going to take Zeke out because we don't think Dak can beat us.
Right. And they were right.
And they were absolutely right. That being said, isn't that every defense's game plan against us?
Yes.
Take Zeke out and have Dak beat us?
Yes. They had the personnel.
Still doesn't give it. Yes. That's what it is.
They had the personnel. And I think
in the end, it comes down to their defense is really good.
Well, I was looking at my big thing that I wanted to see this game was Von Miller versus La'el Collins. I wanted to see if La'el Collins could rise to this challenge, and he was schooled. I would say halfway through the second quarter, that battle was done, and for the rest of the game, he was a ragdoll.
Yeah.
He was just a punching bag.
I haven't seen our offensive line get manhandled.
They got manhandled, and Von Miller, that guy lives up to the hype.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, J.J. Watt, not so much.
J.J.
Watt is overrated.
You think so?
I think Von Miller. That is the real deal.
I'm starting to wish we drafted his brother, T.J. Watt, instead of Taco Charlton.
Taco Charlton.
Is
not much going on over there.
Yeah, I'm not going to put that on him. He's a rookie. I think we all knew he was going to be a developmental project.
So, okay.
I'm not putting on that.
So offense sucked. Okay, I gave him a D-.
O-line got dominated.
I gave him a D- because they did score some touchdowns. Jason Witten,
the only bright spot on our offense.
And, well, I'll tell you what.
He has his one offsides, and then he's golden for the rest of the game.
Well, here's the deal. Like, I feel like this is one of the things I feel like Dak was trying to do. He was, they've talked about the fact that Dez has to be thrown open.
Yep.
He doesn't get separation. He fights for the ball at the point of
Dez
at the point of the catch. And I think Dak was like, okay, you know what? We've been talking about this. He wants me to do this. He assures me that he's gonna make it happen. And so I think Dez was like, okay, I'm gonna throw you open. I'm gonna do what you said, and then now it's up to you. And Dak, I think Dak got the ball down there, and Dez got schooled by Aqib Talib. That guy's a total badass too.
He is a badass. Yeah, Dez gives me a headache, man. Sometimes.
Okay, that's
so
the
one
question.
Of those picks.
Okay, you're talking about whether this was an exposure of Dak Prescott. I think this is an exposure of Dez Bryant.
Is he no longer elite status?
From these two games, I say no.
It's also two really good defenses.
Well, you know what? He's supposed to be
elite. Yeah, you're right. It could be that Dez isn't as awesome.
He's not as awesome. I'm going to throw that down right now. Dez, and I love Dez Bryant. I think it was a catch.
It was a catch. Absolutely. That's not a question.
But I think for the last couple of years, since these foot injuries and stuff, he's never come back.
He looked so good in offseason.
Well, in offseason, who was he playing?
I don't know. One of our injured corners.
Exactly.
No,
you put him up against Aqib Talib, he's gonna get beat.
All right. You said D- for the offense.
D-
D- as well. Defense. Speaking of our injured corners, our defense made Trevor Siemian look like Tom Brady.
Yes.
All pro.
Terrible.
And I granted we had a bunch of injuries. We lost. Who did we lose? We lost Carroll twice.
Yeah. Well,
in one game.
And that was merciful. I thought Carroll.
I agree.
Because we brought Frazier in to replace him. Nobody could. Frazier couldn't be any worse than Nolan Carroll.
Cheeto knocked out.
Yeah, Cheeto. That was sad.
So at one point we're rolling.
I thought during the hour break, what did you do?
I stood under a cover.
Raining?
It was raining. It was barely.
What they should have done is
I never saw lightning, by the
Home
way.
Depot and found some dude.
We already have Durant on our team. I think that covers the Home Depot demographic. So we had at one point Xavier Woods, we had Jordan Lewis, we had Anthony Brown, I'm just thinking, we had either rookies or second-year guys.
And they were all getting completely
shish kebabbed.
Okay, and this was the problem. I wouldn't even say that the secondary or the corners were the real problem. I would say I wrote down a note I took. I said our D needs something for their moderate to severe bad tackling.
Yes.
And the tackling was just the worst I've seen. And I'm trying to think the last time I saw tackling this bad. Last year, they weren't this bad last year. This was just the worst. And this is where I talk about.
And this is all around.
And this is what I'm thinking about.
Sean Lee included.
That thin air. I think these guys just did not have. They couldn't get their breath, and they were arm tackling, and these guys were just running right through them. It was.
I hope you're right.
It was infuriating.
I wouldn't blame the air because.
I'm blaming the air. That's
the only thing that remotely explains.
It's the only thing. It's the only thing that remotely explains how a team that looked as good, a defense that looked as good last week against the Giants. The Giants aren't.
Well, I don't know. They looked pretty garbagey last night versus Detroit. We had some bright spots on our defense. First of all, blanked out. DeMarcus Lawrence. A couple more sacks.
I was going to say DeMarcus Lawrence and Sean Lee kind of tied for me as sort of the defense. If you have to name some defensive players of the game, they seem to at least.
I saw plenty of missed tackles with Sean Lee.
Oh no, Sean Lee was, and I wrote this down. I wrote that Sean Lee. I wanted to name him defensive player of the first half, and then he just does something boneheaded, misses tackles.
Yeah.
Is out of position. Oh, it was just terrible.
How did
But I would say DeMarcus Lawrence. I thought he was
the only bright spot.
And then Anthony Brown, he got a pick.
Yeah, you're right. No, I know. I'm being really
Some guys got some stuff, but it was bricks.
How did Jalen look to you?
Jalen,
I thought he was doing pretty good.
I thought he was doing pretty good.
And then I started talking to other people, and they're like, he played like garbage. And I was like, what?
Well, he wasn't making tackles for losses. There was only one tackle for a loss the whole game, and that was Peja. Paya.
Okay. Yeah.
1 tackle for a loss in the run game the whole game. These guys were getting positive yardage.
That is something that's very uncharacteristic of us. Is we are typically a really good run defense, and we made C.J. Anderson look like Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, exactly. He looked like Ezekiel Elliott. He was doing what Zeke does to people. Anyway, so I give the defense a D- as well. They got some picks.
I'm gonna give the defense a C. I don't think it was as bad as it looked. If you take out the couple of turnovers that we had on offense, I mean, we gave him some decent field positioning a couple of times, and
we just couldn't get any stops on third down. Like it was.
Yeah, that was the problem. Third down, we could hold them to third down, and they could convert. Well, it doesn't matter the down distance.
To me,
they could convert it.
It's like if you can put your hands on a guy and you don't wrap it up and tackle the guy, that to me is unforgivable. I mean, that's just technique. That's like what they teach kids in, Pop Warner football. It's like football 101. Finish your tackles. And these guys were not doing that. And that's why I give them a D-.
You put this on coaching some?
I
Coach
put it
Garrett
on.
Didn't have our boys ready?
Hey, yeah, obviously. The coach has to take some responsibility.
Interesting.
But I'm still like tentatively at this point blaming the thin air. So otherwise I'd be really depressed right now.
Okay.
And just a bad game. I mean, Dak was about due for a bad game, wasn't he? And and Zeke.
Yeah, not this bad.
These names, Dak, Deke, Dez. I mean, I feel like my mom used to call us Billy, Michael, Joey all the time. She always said all 3 names. Okay, so D- for the D, and now
C
we have a
for me.
Oh, C. Okay. So now we have a special treat.
Here with a Denver Broncos fan.
Yes, sir, lifelong.
And I just want to ask him a few questions real quick. First of all, who do you think is going to win today?
Broncos!
Why are you so confident?
Because we're in my high, bro. It's
Yeah?
a Mile High Magic right here in this stadium.
What gives you the edge over the Dallas Cowboys?
Von Miller.
Von Miller, all right. Sir, defense.
Yes,
You're putting all your eggs
defense.
in defense. Concerns for you.
Concerns, offense. Running game.
Running game.
Quarterback, Trevor Siemian.
Quarterback, Trevor Siemian. All right, that's my biggest concern for y'all.
Yeah.
Do you think Trevor Siemian can outplay Dak Prescott?
Should be pretty even in this environment,
You think
considering
so?
the defense that he's going up against.
All right, that's fair. That's good. All right, final question here. Excuse me. This is good. We can have a fans walk by. Here we are. We can edit this. All right, prediction. Final score.
I'm going to call Broncos, let's go 21-17.
How many picks does Dak have?
1,
How many picks does Trevor Siemian have?
2.
So you keep hearing about us talking about Cowboys and stuff, and we wanted to give y'all an outsider's perspective. So we'll ask our dear friend Jason a few questions. First of all, you watched the game, I'm sure.
I did.
Reaction to what you just witnessed.
Reaction. Well,
I think that says it.
I couldn't find. Usually, I try to find something positive. I couldn't find. I don't think I could find one positive thing in that game.
Not one.
Not one. I don't know. I feel like I learned a few things.
What was the most alarming thing?
The most alarming. Okay, so the 2 most alarming things, which is probably not new news for anyone, but number 1, and you guys may have already hit on this, was Dez Bryant, and I felt like we built him up these last couple years as being this elite receiver,
Top 5,
and I just don't see him anywhere close to the top receivers in the league. And it's funny, I was actually looking at his stats, just a little while ago, and just kind of because I kind of had it in my head. When was the last time we've seen him have like a really really strong season? And so
I know
his last 3 the 3 years of his rookie contract, the last 3 years he had 1,000-yard seasons all 3 years. The minute he got his payday, he now falls into that category of the guy who got paid and then underperformed ever since. I know that the year immediately following he had the injury, which kept him out a lot. But last year he played the full year.
Yep.
And he finished. I think he finished with like 50 receptions ish and like about 800 yards, give or take. I'm just looking at primarily as Dez Bryant not being the elite receiver, he's supposed to be at this point. I saw what I really didn't like the most was seeing him miss a lot of catches that you expect the Butlers of the world to hit or miss on those, but your number one guy should make those 90% of the time, and the ball's going through his hands. It's just I don't know. Routes don't look great. And I just can't get. I'm just really starting to kind of dial back my expectations on Dez Bryant, and I'm almost wondering if maybe we should have almost looked at a younger more top tier receiver in this last draft.
I think we're in total agreement that Dez, he was looking for some redemption and he found none. In Denver.
He found zero.
Well, to your point about Dez not being what we thought he was when we gave him the big contract, there was one thing that changed right around that exact same time.
I know what you're going to say.
Tony Romo's no longer here.
Tony Romo's no longer here.
I know it sounds kind of absurd, but when you think about it, it's very possible that Tony Romo could get Dez the ball. And ever since
Tony Romo was the Dez whisperer for sure.
We all know that Tony Romo makes receivers better.
So how do we get Tony Romo out of the booth and back to the Cowboys?
Well, you got to break Dax. No, I'm not gonna say that. No.
Well,
no, but
I was really, I was really hoping that you would revert to your Tony
no,
Romo
but
way.
I will admit that Dez isn't elite. He is not a top 5. He's not your AJ Green or your Julio Jones.
He still missed.
There was a ball that went into his hands and he coughed it right up for the pick.
Yeah. Things like that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, that stuff can't happen.
He actually, now to his credit, he actually played really good cornerback throughout the whole game.
Well, and the thing is like if he's going to get Dak to throw him open, he's going to have to play cornerback sometimes, and that's fine. I don't mind that.
And he did it. But he also has to come down with them a couple of times.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go back to playoffs Green Bay and the catch no catch.
Okay.
Depending on who you ask about that, and I think the reality of it is that if you are Julio Jones or one of those guys, that's going to be a definitive catch every time. That's not that little bobble that he has doesn't happen. You could
argue that if he almost tried too hard on that play.
I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I just don't think he controls
if he
the
just
ball
calms
well.
down.
I mean, you see the other guys. They don't have these bobble problems. I mean, like I said, you look at the top guys, the Antonio Brown, Julio Jones.
Yeah.
AJ
Odell
Green. Beckham, like AJ Green. Those guys catch the ball, and without a doubt, it's a catch. And it's never in question. 90% of the time. I feel like every time Dez gets his hands on the ball,
I get it.
He bobbles a lot. He gets a lot of. It's just not clean.
If your run game's not working,
every time Dez goes for yards after the catch, I'm
terrified.
My shoulders tense up
because I think
he's going to put the ball.
He's
on
had
the
some
ground.
fumble issues. But
we're really piling on Dez.
I know.
We are.
We gotta hit the pedals a little.
I do.
So Dez's care's over. We've established that.
No, but look,
hey, the guy. Hey, look, I'm not saying the guy can't play. I'm just saying, we made it a point to put him in this elite status, and he's really a tier 2 receiver.
Yeah, he really is.
I mean that
tier 2. Maybe he's not elite, but I still think he's a
tier. If you're out of the top 5, you're in the second tier. I mean, that's just how it is. That's 1 and 2.
I agree. When your run game isn't working, your star receiver needs to come out.
So how many more games do we give Dez until we
look? That being said,
until we put a fork in him.
Playoff game last year against Green Bay, Dez was the only one who really showed up and balled out during that game.
Jeff Heath,
true. But no, I mean Dez looked great during that playoff game. He was the only one out there making catches, and
he has to have some.
But he needs
games.
to do that anytime.
He needs to be inspired every game. He can't just
choose.
That's the thing. Like if I pull up the numbers right now on Antonio Brown and Julio Jones, they're showing up every game. The guy that shows up half the season is not your top 5 receiver. Is not a top 5 receiver in the league. That's just. That's just it. But I do want to go back to what you were saying. As we talked about his successful years and Tony Romo, because that was my second thing that
Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott, like that that I really want to touch on, and I do like Dak a lot. I do like a lot of his skills, and,
sure.
And it brings a lot to the team for sure. he is not an accurate quarterback at all. And I feel like, and this goes back to last year, despite like him having this great rookie year, I feel like I just see every game. He's got a 4-leaf clover in his pocket. I see a lot of balls that could be easily picked. Same balls that Romo threw that would get picked. That would get him lit up for. I see Dak doing the same thing, and worse. And he's just getting real lucky. And I don't want him to be lucky. I want him to be
right.
I want him to be throwing good passes because there are definitely some. He missed Cole Beasley wide open.
In
And that was a third down conversion. I think that was missed. Mm-hmm. Which that was not converting on third down just destroyed this entire offense.
And the reason that we didn't convert on third down was because we had no running game.
But I don't know if that's game plan or the Denver defense is that good. I mean, the Denver defense looked awesome.
Yes.
Without question.
Let's give them credit. That
in the previous week, that they had a tough time stopping the run, and and the news around the league is that, man, can Denver, if they can't stop the run, this defense isn't gonna be able to control anything. They came out and did everything.
They figured it out. Which we're supposed to have one of the
elite offensive lines. And we couldn't move the ball against them, and run game is just, that's just brute force will right there, man.
Okay, so what do you think is we've discussed this, but what do you think could answer how they broke down so completely on both sides of the ball in every phase of the game? The entire team looked like total hammered poo-poo.
I don't know if Dak Prescott is if we're gonna call this sophomore slump yet. I'm not prepared to go there. The guy does prepare, and he's pretty into it. I like to see his game improve. But the biggest thing that's got to happen is the defense they got to get a handle on. And I understand the secondary is just destroyed at the moment.
Up.
In the minute I found out that we were rolling out, rookies.
No Scandrick.
Yeah.
Hey, Lewis got a pick.
He got a pick in garbage
something.
time, man, when the game was already gone.
It's his first game ever.
First game ever.
He's practiced like 3 times.
And that's my concern about those guys. It wasn't the fact that they were rookies. It's the fact that these guys
they haven't practiced.
Yeah. They haven't. Cheeto played up until the first preseason game, then got hurt. And so these guys haven't even had real game time.
No, and their hammies are snapping.
Apparently, hammies, is a thing now.
Hey, but we're getting DeMontre Moore back this week.
So we got guys coming back from suspensions. That's going to start to happen, which we need the cavalry to come in for sure. And hopefully those guys will be the cavalry, because none of those guys played either, or did they, in the preseason?
No, they did.
Did DeMontre Moore play?
Yeah, he played.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah, he was all right.
Yeah, but look, you don't know what you're going to get from those guys. And playing in preseason and playing in the regular season, we all know is pretty different.
And it means nothing if your offense goes out there.
It means nothing if the offense can't. They have to find they obviously just didn't do well in anything. And if you can't, but the offense on the field too, not enough, and the defense is on the field too much. And so there's got to be, the defense has to be able to get off the field. And the offense has got to be able to convert on third down. That's those two things have to happen at least. There's just way too many 3-and-outs. And maybe it was that's a pretty elite receiver squad on Denver too. So throwing a bunch of young guys out there to guys like that. I felt like we made Simeon look like
All-Pro, Tom Brady
quarterback. He's not gonna have another 4-touchdown game. I don't think. I just don't think that's his game. He only had 230 yards, 350 yards, I think. So the fact that we're making the bus driver look like the race car driver is a little disappointing.
Well, I'm not quite ready to throw in the towel just yet on the boys. I think
let's do some final observations.
I think that I'm going to tentatively think this was the bad game that maybe wakes these guys up, lets them know, this is not going to be a cakewalk.
Yeah.
We're not just going to win every game. That's not how it goes. Occasionally you're going to run into a buzzsaw or some team that has your number, some team that did the right thing, or thin air, who knows what it is.
If anything, this game was a wake-up call.
Yeah, it should be a wake-up call for Dez. It should be a wake-up call.
Probably needed. Like, I think this was going to be...
for Zeke. Now, the question is Zeke in some sort of depressed funk? Is he suffering from high anxiety? I don't know.
I think Zeke is just not used to losing.
He's definitely
no.
not used
And
to
did you
losing.
see the one play that he gave up on the pick?
Which
Yeah,
one?
I
I mean, there was a few. There's a few.
Well, there was
plays
one where he
gave up on.
literally put his hands on his head. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
And he looked like he
caught him
was
on
throwing
camera.
a fit.
Yeah, they caught him on camera pretty good, but he had a couple where
I mean, he did not
gave
look.
up.
He did not look
I
like he
know.
wanted to be there.
He's not going to catch him probably, but you want to see the effort. It just looks bad when your star running back just gives up on the
gives
play.
up.
I mean, at least jog after the guy.
Well, I mean, he's got some.
Put your arm out.
Okay, so I just had one observation. Vance Joseph, who I saw him. I watched some interviews with Vance Joseph, the Denver
Head
coach. He kind of looks like Don Cheadle.
Yeah,
And I really like his interviews. He's a really he's so different than Jason Garrett. He really talks about, he really answers the questions and like gets into the details in a way that coaches I don't usually see. Anyway, I kind of liked him. I wish he was our coach.
There's a reason why Jason Garrett's the robot, man. You know, I mean, it's just, you know, he's definitely
He follows the script.
You know, all three phases, man.
Never
I can't tell how many times I hear that in an interview from him. You know, it's all.
Well, I wish that Garrett could have shown a little bit more razzle dazzle, pulled something out to
help explain.
Well, no, I mean pulled something out to try to answer these.
These tough questions.
Yeah, well, to find your team in the situation. I'm talking about on the field. Some way to get Zeke back in the game.
Yeah.
Something. He just had nothing. He just had the same old stuff.
Just bust open the playbook and find something creative.
Go deep. Like do we need to do? I mean, I didn't see him try a flea flicker or a end around or something. I mean, nothing. Onside kick.
Could this have also been like a little bit of the Wade Phillips defense? You know, just having the number of the Cowboys. I mean,
well, I think definitely there was that.
I mean, he just knows how to game plan and play against the Cowboys. I mean, there has to be a little bit of an element on that, right?
There is that.
But on the flip side, Jason Garrett should also know how to beat his defense.
Exactly. There's no. Everyone knows how to beat us.
Right. Well,
it's the fact that you can actually go out there and do it. And they did it so well. Was so shocking to us. We weren't ready for that.
Yeah, I don't think our O-line is used to getting manhandled like that. Now that's another question, is our O-line, is it the same O-line as last year? No, it's not.
It's not.
We were playing Ron O'Leary on the other side.
Yeah. Oh,
terrible.
Man, I miss that guy.
Which I'm not sold on Chaz Green at all.
No.
I mean, this is a guy that's barely been able to stay healthy. He hasn't, his short NFL career up to this point, and obviously, that they feel like he's the best fit for the position, but I think the odds of him being healthy the entire season are going to be pretty low. So we'll see how that.
So
goes.
I had my stars of the game.
Oh,
Von
you had
Miller,
really?
Aqib Talib, Trevor Siemian. Dallas gets no stars.
Aqib Talib went to my high school, so that was kind of cool to see Aqib return another pick six. I think he's one away from having the record most pick sixes all time in the NFL.
Well,
no, I actually went to the game with a bunch of high school friends, so we were all kind of on not the Aqib Talib bandwagon, but, seeing him, all right, the game's out of hand, get that pick six, it was kind of cool. Terrence Williams looks like he can clock manage now. I saw him very attentive to the clock throughout the whole game. Like, good, you've learned. Something that they did at Mile High Stadium that was at first really cool and they got super annoying was anytime there was an incomplete, the entire stadium goes incomplete. Was really cool at first, and then midway through the second quarter it got super annoying.
Well, there were so many incompletes.
Their fans, I don't know, that's a stadium. It made our fans kind of, dude.
They have home field.
They're loud. They're all into it. Every fan's into it. That's my star of the game is the Denver Bronco Stadium fans.
So it's a real deal.
It's the real deal. I can only imagine what it's like at some of those other stadiums.
Okay, so
Next week, Dallas plays Monday Night Football
against the Cardinals. So I am
a David Johnson-less Cardinals.
So what do you think about that?
I think it's a bye week.
I think they really.
Have you seen the Cardinals play yet?
Yes. Have you seen us play?
Well, then,
this is a blip. I'm calling
maybe it'll be
until I see more evidence. I'm calling this a blip, an anomaly.
Same thing, but other way around. Until I see them
Right now, Denver
perform.
looks like a Super Bowl bound
Right,
team, you know. So, but Arizona, look, if we go out and struggle,
If we don't struggle against Arizona, then it's time to start pulling the alarm.
They struggled against Indy, Andrew Luckless.
Okay.
Indy, we should be fine.
So next week let's look for a win. Let's look for a little redemption. Maybe an angry Cowboys team taking it out.
What would you like to see?
Taking out their frustrations.
What would you like to see out of our team to make us feel better about going forward?
I'd like to see Dak and Dez have a big game. That's what I'd like to see.
Okay.
I'd like to see the O-line have a really clean pocket.
I want to see Dak have a good game.
Yeah.
A clean, good game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go defense on this. I want to see the defense step up and like play a game that they haven't played.
Play some shutdown football.
I want to see them play some shutdown.
I want to see something from the special teams.
I mean, Carson
Ryan
Palmer's.
Switzer.
You know, he's got back-to-back multi-pick games to start his season. You know, I mean, we need to if we can't play a strong defensive game against him, I think we're in trouble, especially with no running back.
Duly noted. Awesome.
Well, there we go. That was episode 7. Check you later. I'll check you later.
Bye.